Yeah, I worked with a girl that had two of them. One's name was Foxy, oddly enough. That one was a nasty little dog, didn't like anybody but her, which I thought was very strange. That dog did not like anybody, you couldn't even pet her, she'd snarl. I'm like, and she'd bring him to work. It's like, don't bring him to work. I want to pet him, and he's going to bite me. And he didn't understand, I'm going to pet him. Yeah, no, this one would, I think. This one would have.
We need 4, right? Dan?
Yep.
4?
We need 4, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, we have 4. I got caught on a call with Beth.
Jerry didn't respond.
Didn't
back.
respond.
Deb is an iffy
Right, okay,
for statement.
right. Ready?
Where's Dave?
Okay. He's traveling for work.
Oh,
Call to order the March 21, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission. Roll call, please.
Katharina Barbie,
Here.
Vicki Buckley,
here.
David Castro, Matthew Kroll,
Here.
Deborah Neer, Jerry Wright, and Chair Christina Atherton.
Here. The approval of the agenda, any additions, deletions, or corrections? And if none, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Barbie,
Second.
second by Buckley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Approval of the February 21st, 2018 minutes. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? And if none, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Buckley,
Second.
second by Barbie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. This is the public participation portion of the meeting. For anyone who has any comments about anything that is not on the agenda, we welcome you to come to the podium. There being none, I move to new business. A continuation of the public hearing on a petition by Stefan Werminski, applicant, and Black Hawk Road LLC owner, to amend Plan Development Ordinance Number 2017-028 to eliminate the requirement for commercial kitchen and amend the final plans regarding the parking lot, handicap accessibility, and landscaping at the Sigma Nu fraternity located at 1114 Black Hawk Road. I turn to the city.
Thank you, Chair. This is a public hearing for 114 Black Hawk. It's a fraternity that received approval last year by the city to establish up to 45 residents. They occupied it this fall. There was a temp CO issued.
Mic closer.
Microphone.
Oh,
Okay.
Is it right here at the top?
Can you hear me?
there we
There we
go.
So this fraternity received approval last year. They were issued a temp CO, which expired end of February. There's some remaining items as a condition of that temp CO that they have to complete indoors, inside the building. One of the conditions was to amend the plan development ordinance that was approved last year to remove the commercial kitchen requirement. They submitted that petition. They still have some things inside to complete. They're progressing on that, but we're recommending the hearing be continued again until those items are completed. So there's a sample motion in the packet that recommends the public hearing be continued to Wednesday, April 18th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. So recommendation and the motion should read as the provided there in the report.
Okay, so I'll take a motion for continuation.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move the public hearing for 114 Black Hawk Road be continued to Wednesday, April 18th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in the DeKalb City Council Chambers.
Second.
Motion by Kroll, second by Buckley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. So this is continued to April 18th. Second item is a public hearing on a petition by DeKalb Community Unit School District 428 for approval of a special use permit to allow for the addition of a 32-space parking lot to the east of the existing school building located at 821 South 7th Street, Founders Elementary School, which is zoned SFR2, Single Family Residential District. And I open to the city.
We're going to have the applicant give a presentation.
Okay. If you can state your name and address, that'd be great.
Okay. My name is Tammy Carson. I'm Director of Facility Operations for DeKalb School District. Our address is 901 South 4th Street in DeKalb, Illinois. We have put before the city a proposal to add some additional parking spaces at our Founders Elementary. We have added several new programs at Founders over the last several years, which has increased the number of staff as well as students in our building. It also has increased the number of visitors that are coming to our building because of the IEP meetings that are being held, the individual education program meetings. And so we are in need of parking spaces to satisfy the amount of staff members, because currently we are overflowing into the street to allow for enough parking for our staff and our visitors. So what is put forth is the design for that parking lot. It does not cause any disruption to an on-or entrance or exit onto the street, the city streets. It is strictly withheld within our property and would allow 32 additional parking spaces. Our engineer, Jeff Lincolnheld from ARC Design Resources, is also here and has been working with the city officials in regards to the design process prior to the bid going out, so that we have incorporated recommendations from the city into our design and are looking for approval to move forward with the project.
Maybe the applicant go through the slides there and the plan, kind of show what the plan is.
Sorry I'm late. At least I didn't get stuck by the train that just went through. But I did hit every red light. When you're running late, that's the way it goes. Isn't that convenient?
Can you state your name? and
I'm
address,
sorry.
please?
Jeff Lincolnheld, Arc Design Resources,
Thank
civil
you.
engineer. Thank you. So here we are, down right in the heart of DeKalb, and at Founder School. That's just kind of a site map showing, where the school is at, down on kind of south end of downtown. A little bit zoomed in view of the site map. You can see the playground, the playfields on the west, the school building on the east. That little circular driveway is the bus drop-off drive that we installed probably 3 or 4 years ago now. And kind of a zoomed-in view of that. We did look at Tammy's request at some additional parking near the playground, or actually south of the playground there. It's found, inconvenient, mingling with the kids and all that, and really not where we need the parking to be. So the second location that was studied was that infield area that's inside the bus loop and then bordering there on 4th Street, right? 7th Street, sorry. There you go. That's the concept plan. Did everybody see that pop up? So it's one-way parking to kind of mimic the route of travel of the buses. So you enter from the north, and then you leave on the south in the same driveway that the buses have entered and exited. This is just our engineering drawings. We did work with staff regarding landscaping needs and requirements. You can see we've got trees lining along 7th Street. There's been some bushes added to the kind of on the north, and kind of buffering some of the existing parking stalls there that are. Is there a pointer?
I don't think it will show up on there.
Yeah, in that clouded area is where we made some changes there for the city to add some additional bushes. And then we've got the trees lining 7th Street. Grading plan, not that you guys necessarily care that much, but it's very simple. It kind of drains from the bus driveway towards the street. We pick it up in a storm sewer inlet, and then, or actually, we run it off into a ditch, yes. And then we pick it up into a little catch basin, and then run it through the existing storm sewer heading south. So nothing really enters the city right-of-way from this new lot. I think that's the end. So, like I said, we've really, we've had engineering review. I brought 6 drawings of plans with me to turn into the city. Hopefully somebody over there can take them and give them to Ryan. But yeah, we're ready to roll. I mean, this will be a summer project, obviously, when school gets out, and then be ready to go for next fall.
It was approved yesterday, last night at our school board meeting, contingent upon the city approval, and it would still be within our contingency dollars that were approved. The bid has been put out. At this time, the bid would be awarded to Current Contracting out of DeKalb, Illinois. They were the lowest responsible bidder of the project.
Thank you. If we have any further questions, we'll have you come up.
Okay.
We'll have the public make comment if they wish, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I do have one speaker request form from John Anderson, so if you'd like to come to the podium. And if you can please state your name and address.
John Anderson, 844 South 7th Street, right across the street from, just by Culver. I'm on the corner of Culver and 7th. Well, for one thing, this school was built as a junior high school. I think it's the first junior high school they built in DeKalb back in the 50s. And the signs are still out on 7th Street that says there's no parking there from 2:30 to 4 o'clock for the buses would run parallel right along the street there in front of where they got it and unloaded junior high students. I think the rest, most of the kids came into the back of the school. Some of them came in from the front, but this one was a junior high. Then all of a sudden they convert it to a grade school and they make it a mega grade school. And then they put that road in the front yard for the buses. Well, it's for the buses now, but to start out with, you drove up with your children in the morning and they had adults to accompany the kids back into the front door. But that only worked for 1 year. That's another thing. Every time you get a new principal in that place, they change which doors the kids come in and leave. My neighbor's got 3 children in there, and he says every time they get a new principal, they change the way they run the traffic. So I can see here lately where they got the 18 spaces filled up in the front. That's for visitors. But some of those cars are there all day, so that's for teachers that are there, or staff that's there all day, we'll put it that way. And there is room behind the school, they're on the north side. And another thing too, they got a driveway that runs between Taylor and Culver, but they got locked up. And I can understand that, so people aren't shooting through there because kids are out there playing at recess and noon. And it's a good safety item. But a lot of things have changed over the years. I've lived there for 30 years. And the traffic is a real mess at night. People are lined up all the way from Taylor on 7th, around Culvert, into the back of the school waiting to pick their kids up. Then there's people that park on the side streets and the kids walk over to their folks' car. It's kind of a traffic nightmare there at quitting time. But this is a real change. If you look at the other schools in town, the grade schools, all the parking's done behind the school. Now, if you're a stranger coming to 7th Street into DeKalb, you'll look over and say, well, here's a commercial area right here in the middle of the residential area. It's not, it's a school. But to strangers that don't know the town, they're going to think it's anything but a school. Anyway, I'm against putting this parking lot right out in the middle. They got 18 parking stalls for visitors to come in and go in the front way. And there's, like they say, there's room in the back to get more parking. You got the whole north side of the building. You got the south side of the building that you could add more parking spaces without having it look like a store. Everybody today now has to get their car parked where they can look one eye and see the front door of the store. They can't walk halfway around the block. But as far as the people that live there now, I'm the oldest one. The only other old one is in Florida for the winter. And the houses have all changed hands. People have moved to Arizona, New Jersey, you name it. Just people are leaving this town. They're like they're evading there's going to be a bombing or something like it was in Europe. Get out of town. But, and then we got this program going on where we've got out-of-town people sending their kids to school here on our dollar, and they're checking on those, and they should know that within about a month, how many students they're going to lose they don't have here this year. Now, I know there won't be many from this school here, it's just a little grade school, but they should know what the population of the school is going to be, school kids, and make some changes. Because there could be, I hate to see it, a fifth school being closed, and this town just sitting idle. That's about it. But you can tell that I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Okay. So I turn to, city, sorry. That's an important one.
Yeah, there was a staff report in your packet, and the school district went over it pretty well, the summary. Public elementary school is a special use in the single-family district. The school district did receive a couple special use permits in the past, and when it was Huntley Middle School in the 90s for expansions to the building. The building was built in 1953 originally. Again, a 32-space one-way parking lot added. There's currently 18 spaces up in that northeast corner of the lot right now. Current enrollment is 575 students in K through 5. There's approximately 90 full-time staff members and some additional part-time staff also. As the applicant mentioned, there's been program changes in the school, which necessitates the need for some additional parking for visitors and staff. Currently, the total number of parking on site is 85, which accommodates staff, visitors, and handicapped motorists. That includes the front and back of the building. So with approximately 90 full-time staff members at the school, along with additional part-time, the district indicates that on a daily basis, they're short about 20 parking spaces. Looking at our parking requirements in the city, per the formula we have, there's about 80 required spaces, and the school district is, with the 32 new ones, they'll have 117 total parking spaces to meet their needs. It was asked about the school district if they could park somewhere else behind the building. They indicated that there's some conflicts in the back with the playground area. Also very important, the only visitor entrance is at the northeast side of the building, so it'd be very inconvenient for visitors to park in the back and walk all the way around the front of the building. So the proposed parking location is appropriate. It fits in with the existing design and layout of the existing parking and access drives. There's 2 connections to 7th Street and also 1 to Taylor. So it's very conducive with that, fits right in with the flow of traffic already in the area. Some additional requirements with any new parking, over 5 spaces, it needs some landscaping. So it was brought up a little bit about some additional landscaping added. There's currently 6 smaller shade trees on the lot now where the parking is going to be. They're going to transplant those, and 5 of them will be right in front along South 7th Street, right in front of the parking. And then based on the frontage of the size of the parking lot, or the lineal footage along 7th Street, they required the 6 street trees, which are providing. They're actually providing 2 more. And then 22 shrubs. And we worked with the district to try and figure out, instead of this putting all 22 right next to the new parking lot, let's look to see where it's most beneficial perhaps and allow some flexibility. So they're going to add the shrubs in front of the 2 existing parking areas, which is most visible from 7th and Taylor at the intersection. So try and work with the site a little bit to see where it's most needed, most beneficial. So that's what's proposed. Again, they have 2 additional trees beyond what's required. There's 2 existing trees that will be lost with the new parking lot. 1 will be saved, and that's shown on the north end, which one's saved and which ones are going to be removed. And there was a little couple photos in the Staff report too that shows that new street views from the north and from 7th Street too, to kind of give you an idea what trees are going to be remaining or what's out there right now. The UDO also requires lighting, so there'll be 2 new light poles on the west side of the new parking lot. And the photometric plan was submitted showing that it meets the lighting requirements at the low end of what's required in the residential district. So it's not going to be very bright, but we'll light up that parking area. And they'll be shine down lights, they won't go horizontal. We did receive one email prior to the hearing, or after the hearing was set, from Rich Kakuri of 418 Culver Street. His email is in the packet, indicates his support for the parking lot. Special use findings of fact are provided with every special use. The first one discusses that it complies with the UDO, which a parking lot complies with all the setback requirements, landscaping and lighting requirements. Number 2 is special use will not be detrimental to the value of the surrounding neighborhood. The school's been there since 1953, has 3 expansions. There's an adjacent 18 parking space parking lot right next to the proposed one. And it's situated in a location that meets all the UDO requirements and will not be detrimental to the property or the surrounding property values to the surrounding neighborhood. 3 talks about that the special use will not dominate the immediate neighborhood. Much of the neighborhood's already developed for some time, of course, so the proposed parking lot fits in with and complements the existing circulation pattern that's been set by the school there. They do have, with the shortage of parking, they have cars parking right now in the bus lane, and when there's pickup or drop-off, they have to be removed out of there. So this would be a good location for the additional parking. Of course, there's no really utilities needed. They have some additional lights, and the drainage will be accommodated from the parking lot. And the 5th and final findings relates to it's operated in a manner that will be, again, compatible with the neighborhood, which they'll meet all the UDO requirements, and the parking lot expansion will allow the school district to better serve the educational needs of the community, which promotes the public health, safety, and welfare of the city. So staff would recommend approval of the special use request. There's a sample motion there. There's 2 conditions. The first one approves all the plans that were provided to you, the site plan, landscape plan, photometric plan. The second was all staff comments being addressed prior to final council consideration. There was about 2 or 3 engineering comments which have been addressed. They did submit revisions since the packet went out, and our engineer did review those, and all the comments have been addressed regarding that issue. So that's a report. If there's any questions, I can certainly answer those.
Can you explain again the landscape piece, the tree part? So
Sure.
on page 2 of the backup, 2 of 7.
Yeah, the sheet CO3 has a landscape plan.
Yeah.
There is,
So-
O2, I think, shows the existing.
O2 does?
Shows the existing and which ones will be transplanted, which ones will be removed. So there's currently 6 trees, smaller shade trees on
Okay,
that area that will have to be transplanted because the parking lot will go there. So
right.
they're saving all 6 of those. 5 will go along South 7th Street between the parking lot and 7th Street. And then the additional 1 plus 2 more will go to the northeast side adjacent to the existing parking areas. And then the 22 shrubs is required based on the size of the new parking lot. The district chose to move those so they're a little more beneficial because there's no landscaping up there pretty much at all now, to move those up and screen the existing parking spaces to the north there. So they exceed their landscaping requirements. They're transplanting some. There's 2 that are being, have to be removed, a 16-inch and a 28-inch. I think one of those is an evergreen, and they are going to be saving one 18-inch
Okay.
tree. It's going to be at the corner of the parking lot, but they'll be able to save that one.
Okay. That was the piece I was a little confused on. Okay. Okay. Thanks. So I open it up to the commissioners for any questions or comments that you might have. Any further?
I do. I was wondering the same thing, why the parking lot can't go on the other side of the school, because if you're living there and you're living next to a school, and the school's always busy. I mean, there are lots of little kids here, and I really think that's great. My kids went to that school when it was a middle school, I think. But I'm very glad we have that school in the neighborhood. You need little kids all over. But if I think that I were to live there, like, I forgot your name, I'm sorry. First, I just see the school and I see grass, and suddenly I'm going to look on the parking lot. That really is not nice for the quality of living in that area. And so I was wondering why the parking lot can't be on the other side of the school, where the next thing I think is a 7-Eleven or something, right? So we already have this kind of commercial use there, and then there could be something, so there's, I think, probably a safety reason too for students, because they might go through the parking lot to the playground. So if that could be somehow taken into consideration, I really think, I don't know why it has to be on that side and why it can't be on the other side.
Yeah, yep, please.
We looked at all options with that, and we did look at an option that was on the backside. And because one of the purposes of this is because of the visitor parking, that we're trying to create more spaces. We have a program that's been added to Founders Elementary called our SOUL program, and it's our higher and special needs children. And they have the IEP meetings, which is where all of their support staff, their therapists, their social workers and their teachers and parents get together regularly, and that would require visitors coming quite frequently into the buildings. These meetings can be anywhere from 10 to 15 people involved, depending on the support staff that are needed. And those are not always people that are housed in the building full-time, so they're becoming as needed for the meetings, which is the increase for the need for the visitor. The visitor spaces we have in the front just do not meet those needs for the volume of visitors that come into our meetings. Right now, like the gentleman indicated, we do have staff members actually parking there, which again bumps visitors even further away. All of our schools over the years have changed because of safety reasons, that only door 1 is accessible during the school day unless you're a staff member for safety reasons. It's a secure entrance, so they're forced into through the office. And for that reason, we can't have visitors coming in like a back door, for example, for a meeting. They have to come through, they have to go through our visitor management system, our Raptor visitor management, to ensure they are approved to come into our buildings. In addition, at the back area, even though it does seem like a very large green space, with 575 students, we fill up that space pretty quickly between the kids playing on just the general playground equipment. We added blacktop playground equipment where they have more hopscotch and basketball courts and things away from the parking. And then they overflow into the grass for many soccer games and other play that happens in that grass area. Should we take over park and make that area parking, that again will take away from the play area. In addition, it'll start mixing visitors and more cars with kids that are literally leaving the building, are ready to cross over into the playground. So for, again, safety reasons, we do feel the front is a more appropriate space based on the needs of the building.
And can it be done so that the neighbors there on 7th Street won't see the parking through maybe more bushes, higher hedges or something? Or would that be then another security reason? I don't know. I mean, there's always,
It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. We looked at various plans that had more bushes on that stretch. There's 2 things that came up during that discussion when we revised the plan to where it stands today. One is the safety issues, and that is we always try to keep our bushes at a certain height, certain quantity, especially when it comes to parked vehicles, or anything that blocks visibility of our schools. So that was a concern. And in addition, based on how this is laid out, there's also a limited amount of areas for us for plowing of snow. Where do we push the snow in the winter and pile the snow? And the plan, based on the design from the engineers, is it would be plowable into that green space between the parking lot and the city sidewalk. We also clear the city sidewalk, so no concerns that we'd be pushing our parking lot snow onto that city sidewalk. Our crew is in charge of keeping that sidewalk clear also. But again, the more plants you put into there, the more chances, especially smaller shrubs, that they won't survive with the snow and salt that would be pushed into that area.
I don't know, it is a school use. Do you want to comment on any of the night, what kind of night programs and where people park for that?
For our night programs, actually, it depends. If it's a school function, they potentially could be parking in the front and the back. And with parents coming, if it's an all-school function, we fill up and we end up being in the playground parking because it's just that many parents when you have 575 students. For school functions, because this is also a very active building at night, that we lease it out to the community with sports clubs and teams, Girl Scout troops, things like that. That being the case, that parking would happen the majority of the time in the back of the building when the clubs are using it, and we allow a back entrance after the school day is over.
Thank you.
There's a possibility we could look, we did talk about the shrubs along 7th Street, that's where they're required, and then we looked at moving them, talked to the school district about, there was a concern about the snow storage and the type of shrubs, not too high, and make sure that they're salt tolerant, and they're, I think, all evergreen shrubs, right? I think on there. And they moved them to the existing parking, but perhaps there's a chance to get some shrubs in front between 7th Street and the parking area to screen a little bit of the parking, stay out of the snow storage areas. We could work with the applicant to try and get some screening there, perhaps a little more. There's 5 trees there. That's not going to
Yeah, but they
screen
have,
the
like,
actual
skinny-
spot. Yeah.
They're not, I don't know what kind of trees you're putting, but they're,
Well, they're the transplanted ones, so
Yeah.
there's, I think the image, how tall are those?
Green trees, leafy green trees.
And they're actually, we opted to put in new trees. We've opted to not transplant based on some discussions. We are
Oh,
going to
okay.
be putting in new, and they are probably
They're 2.5-inch caliper, so, I don't know, 20 foot tall, 15 foot tall.
But
So
they're the
there's
standard, trunk, like
standard
you said,
street
skinny
tree.
trunk, and then a lot of green at the top. So there isn't a lot of, from a visibility or blocking of visibility, that won't be happening necessarily with those style of trees. I do want to note, I don't know if you can tell from this image, but the entrance to the building is, do you see where that sidewalk comes at an angle? The entrance to the building is right there in the corner of where that runs into the building. So from a visibility of where our entrance is and where the core part of our building is, from a visibility from the street, is actually from that corner of where Taylor and 7th Street intersect. So that will still not be obstructed with an additional parking or anything with this design. It's also, I will also comment, this is very similar to the design that was approved at Clinton Rosette Middle School 2 years ago, I believe it was, 2 or 3 years ago. We did the same type of concept. There was a circle drive in front of Clinton Rosette with grass in the middle, and now we have the same type of thing where it comes in and out on both ends of our circle drive to allow additional visitor parking at Clinton Rosette Middle School. So it kind of came up with that same similar design.
I think Clinton Rosette doesn't have all the parking right on whatever that little road is.
It has it right on
Signal.
First Street. It runs
Yeah.
parallel with First Street now,
Yeah.
so it
So
technically
there's
blocks
just
their
a
front door
church
more.
or something, but where the people live, what's that little
Oh,
road called?
there's
Sycamore
Elwood,
Road.
right,
So there's
Elwood
not
House
that-
and churches are across the
Yeah.
street. You're absolutely right,
So it's a different issue than in this one.
yes.
I would like to reiterate, as far as the traffic pattern goes, that everybody accessing this new parking still enters in off of Taylor because it's a one-way flow. So it's not like we're gumming up 7th Street with additional traffic waiting to turn left into the parking stalls or anything. They all still go back around to Taylor and would only exit the school off the bus driveway. So just to make sure you're clear on that we're not adding a bunch of people sitting there waiting to get into the property.
So you think the
Off of
parents are not
Off of
going to?
7th, yes.
The parents are not going to park there?
No,
When
I'm
they
just,
pick
all
up
I'm
the
saying
kids?
is that we're just making sure that everybody still enters off of Taylor to make their way to these parking stalls.
Yeah.
What
And
the
where
gen-
do they exit then?
They
Of
would
7th
ex-
Street?
They would exit onto 7th Street, and we do, if that happens to be used during the times of the morning times, we have signs that say no left turn, so that we are not stopping traffic, and because it's easier to turn right, obviously, when there's not blocking traffic going to the left. I would also like to say, we do, at the end of the day, it does back up. I'm not going to say it doesn't on Culver, on the south side. Parents do line up, 20 minutes before school dismisses, and the students dismiss out the back of the building. And because of 575 students, there are a lot of kids and parents that are car riders in the back. We wrap it as close to the building as we possibly can and fit as many cars as we can into that. So it does back up onto Culver. It was worse, I will say, a year and a half ago, if anyone hasn't been around since that point, when we had an emergency construction project and we had to take down, and we called it the tower, because of structural engineering concerns and safety concerns. And then there was even an increased number of cars on Culver and 7th Street because we couldn't fit as many onto our property because of safety reasons.
Similar situation on 13th with Little John and all the parents
All the
parking
people
there.
line
is-
up.
yeah.
Yep.
It is.
I was going to bring that up, thank you. As well.
There's less walkers nowadays.
Right,
There's a lot more
unfortunately.
kids that are dropped off or picked up by their parents than to walk.
Some of that is safety too.
Absolutely, it is.
Being safe with their kids.
That's understandable.
Yeah, do you have anything? I do have one more question about the area. So in this picture, there's that north, now obviously you probably want to get rid of that diagonal sidewalk, but did you look at maybe utilizing that area there as the parking?
We did not. There is a lot of foot traffic that comes on that angled sidewalk from the students that are walkers from 7th and Taylor.
Okay.
Because of, again, the number of students, that's a high-traffic area.
Okay.
I'd really be concerned to the safety of students that would walk through there. Even if we eliminated that angle and forced them to walk the sidewalks that line
They'd
the
still cut-
entrance and
cut through
exit.
there, yeah.
They could,
Yeah.
through.
So with the parking spaces closest to 7th Street, obviously you've got that sidewalk there. Is there some type of a barrier or a blocking type buffer? Parking spaces usually have that concrete space that you will bump up to. Is there a bumper or something?
There's actually there's, in this design, it's actually a 2-foot wide ribbon curb, which would be flat with the pavement. It's a visual aid to help people stop, but it's actually flat there so that their snow can be plowed off without having to come up and over the curb. So the answer to your question is no, in this particular instance. We do have curb on the backside on the sidewalk, where
So
people
the
would
students
have
can
to
just
stop.
access across if they are cutting through?
They would, they'd have to
yeah.
pass through the green area
Yeah.
also, pass through the grass.
Yeah, well, but they could do that, they could hop a curb, it's not, and, to go back to the point about the parking in the corner, if we were to put parking in the corner, it'd be likely that we would need to try and fit in another sort of a driveway, which would be too close to the intersection.
Sure.
So trying to,
take forever to
we're
get
trying to
out.
fit, trying to
Yeah.
fit the parking in where we're not actually adding any more driveways.
Sure.
And utilizing what we have.
I think that the parking buffer piece is a little bit of a concern for me. If there is somebody who, now obviously, or hopefully, maybe you won't have as many people parking there while the kids are coming to school or leaving school, but parents may park there, whatever. I think my concern with that is, what if somebody were not to stop in that spot? There's no,
There's
the
trees.
trees are there, right?
Trees and bushes?
But if they're the taller trunk, or the thinner trunks, it's not gonna stop a car going through there. So I do have a little concern about that. But how far from the sidewalk will
It's
the
about
end
10
of that
it's about
parking lot?
10 feet
Okay,
between the sidewalk and the parking stalls.
That's the setback in that, just 10 feet. And the right-of-way is usually right behind the sidewalk, so.
okay. I didn't know if it was a little bit
looks
wider.
narrow.
It looks
narrow.
wider on,
Yeah, this one looks narrow.
yeah, that looks narrower
Yeah.
than, okay. Okay, no more questions at the moment, but we do give the public a second opportunity. hang on just a second, Mr. Anderson.
When you come off of Taylor.
Oh, hang on, sir, hang on, just a second. So I do open up for one last opportunity for you to comment, so if you want to come up to the podium,
Oh, okay.
please.
Where you come off of Taylor, it's one way coming south to the front door of the school. You got some bicycle racks right there next to the street. You could remove those, make a turn in that green area parallel to
Those are cars, aren't they?
Taylor Street.
That's the same thing.
And
Those are cars.
it'd be one way west. You'd have to have a new curb cut where you exit and go out on Taylor. And you could have a row of cars at an angle, just like you have here. And you could plow your snow, and you'd still have enough area there to park the snow on either side. And they just have to walk around the corner to go in the front door. That's just a suggestion. I know you got two big trees in there, but that's all you have in that whole area between the driveway there and the driveway behind the school. And wouldn't be any way for them to go back in the back to get in there. You'd have a curb cut with one-way drive coming in the way you do right now and exit. That's just a thought. And you could get some more parking spaces for staff back over towards Culver where they had the new extension. They got about 20 parking lots or spaces there behind that addition. You could get another 9 or 12 if you went extended that south. It's a grassy area right now. But, that's just a thought. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the public portion, the public comment portion, and open it to the commissioners. Any further questions or comments?
No.
Anything further from the city?
I don't think so. I think everything's there. Just a reminder that we're, need to look at what they're proposing, not so much a plan to park elsewhere or other plans. We got to respond to what they're proposing. There's some concern regarding the visibility of the parking lot there. There's the option, you could add some, work with staff to add some shrubs along that stretch there. I think there's some room to perhaps do a little bit of that and still offer snow storage during that time. But that's an option. That's up to the commission if they want to add that to their motion.
Does anybody have any further comments about the landscaping or any further questions about that? Okay. I'll take a motion if you're ready.
So do you want us to make additional language available in the motion to explore additional shrubbery that could be included along with the shade, the transplanted shade trees to provide additional buffering in there?
If that's up to the commission, if you want to do that, you can.
I'd like to, before I make the official motion, do some additional language to the end of, will not be detrimental to the surrounding area and will explore potential additional shrubbery where possible along the 7th Street buffer.
You can make that, just add that to the motion that's in the staff report. You can add that in. Are you adding a condition or are you adding something to the motion?
Well, okay, am I adding it to the?
You can add it to Exhibit A as
add it to
additional
Exhibit A?
condition. Yeah.
Okay, so would I make that as a separate motion, or do I
I would just read the motion as presented there in the staff report, and then when you get to Exhibit A, just note, add item 3, and then the language that you just mentioned.
okay,
It's
got
probably the
it,
best way.
got it. Just making sure,
The language was good.
just making sure.
Yeah, sounded good to me.
Okay. Any other thing? Okay, well, I'm willing to make a motion. All right. Staff would recommend based upon the submitted petition and testimony presented, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward its finding of fact and recommend to the City Council approval of the special use permit to allow for an addition of a 32-space public parking lot to the east of Founders Elementary School located at 821 South 7th Street, subject to the conditions listed in Exhibit A, with the addition of a third exhibit to explore additional shrubbery to be planted where at all possible along the buffer zone between the new parking lot and 7th Street to allow for additional screening.
Motion has been made by Kroll,
Second.
second by Buckley. Roll call.
Katharina Barbie?
Yes,
Yes, you said yes.
sorry.
Okay. Vicky Buckley?
Yes.
David Castro? abstain. Matthew Kroll?
Yes.
Deborah Neer? Jerry Wright? Chair Christina Atherton?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Reports.
Next scheduled meeting is April 4th. We have no scheduled hearings yet. We'll advise the commission the week before if we cancel that or not. Meeting after that's April 18th. We have the course continued hearing, 1114 Blackhawk. And there should be some other items too that are in the works, so any hearings, of course, you get those emails at a time as they come up. The City Council approved the text amendments to the UDO regarding self-storage facilities. They did that on March 12th. The Commission had recommended a meeting before that. That was approved on first and second reading.
Great. I do have one question before we
Sure.
adjourn. So, and I haven't read through this in quite a long time, so if this is somewhere in the UDO and I've missed it, I apologize. But is there a maximum number of continuances per project that has,
I'm not sure. I can take a look.
I'm just
Unless it's in the
curious.
bylaws or I don't think there's anything in the UDO, but
I think so either,
I think we can
but-
pretty much
Keep
do it.
continuing until-
Considering some of the things we've had, I think we can continue pretty long.
Yeah.
Pretty much
yeah.
indefinitely.
I was just curious because, at what point
Is enough enough?
do we,
Yeah.
say you've had 3
Yeah.
strikes, you're out, you got to start over. I don't want to ever have to get to that point because I know it's a long
yeah, I
process
think
for
that's
people.
discretion of the
but-
commission. You can certainly
We
not
can just
continue
vote
it
it
and
down,
approve it
too.
or deny
Yeah.
it.
I
So
was-
deny it at a certain point, too.
Yeah.
I'll take a look. I don't
Yeah.
think there is. I think we've had a few, I know with the cell tower on 7th Street in the
That's
past.
that was
it's
quite a
continued
bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Several times.
Went on forever.
And
Yeah.
we got
Yeah.
highly commented about that, but,
Yeah.
there was, when we did those continuances, they did come back with information or, there was something more that they came back with, where we've had a couple, and this one tonight, where I understand they're working on,
Yeah.
getting some items, but they haven't even come to
Right.
present anything. So it was a curious question.
I'll take a
Just
look through there. I
something I
don't
was
think there
thinking
is.
about.
I'll check the bylaws too. I know we were working on some
I'm
revisions to that.
pretty sure there's
but-
nothing in the bylaws.
Okay,
Yeah, but,
I'll take a look.
okay. I don't know if it's something we want to consider, but I thought I'd ask.
Curious. It's a good question.
Yeah. Thought about that in the middle of the night last night.
Did it keep you up?
It woke me up.
You need to find a new Netflix
I need
series.
yeah.
Oh, God, no, that keeps me up all night.
Okay, thanks. So if there's nothing else, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Barbie,
Second.
second by Buckley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
No, I want to stay. I don't want to adjourn. Can we-